Indo-Pacific's maritime highways have always been arteries of commerce, but increasingly they are also stages for strategic choreography, a language of ships and aircraft that speaks as loudly as any diplomatic communique. Movements once filed under routine transits are now read, passed and answered by capitals from Tokyo to Washington, Manila to Beijing. Every course plotted, every exercise scheduled, is filtered through complex histories, competing legal claims, and the political rhythms of national leadership. That sharper lens was on full display in late April. On April 20th, 2026, two developments converged in a way that crystallized the new reality. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense reported that China's aircraft carrier Liaoning transited the Taiwan Strait. On the same day, the Philippines opened the annual Balikatan military exercises, an edition far larger and more international than many previous iterations, with more than 17,000 personnel taking part from the Unite. The States, Japan, Australia, Canada, France, New Zealand and the Philippines. The overlap was striking and not accidental in its effect. For Beijing, carrier transits and distant training sorties are routinely framed as operations to sharpen readiness, an element of modernizing naval doctrine and sea-air coordination. For other governments, these same moves carry heavier symbolic weight. A carrier slicing through a narrow, politically sensitive waterway will be read as training by one side and as a calibrated signal by another. Domestic politics and personalities shape how those movements are interpreted. In Tokyo, Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has overseen a more assertive security posture, accelerating plans that build deterrence and expand Japan's defense footprint. In Manila, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has emphasized strengthening partnerships and operational readiness, hosting foreign forces on Philippine soil as a practical way to bolster maritime defense. In Washington, President Donald J. Trump has continued to prioritize forward deployment and joint exercises as a cornerstone of deterrence in the Western Pacific. Those policy priorities are not abstract. They translate into ships at sea, aircraft on patrol and multinational landings on foreign beaches. Balikatan this year was deliberately designed to send multiple messages simultaneously. Amphibious landings, live-fire events and combined air and naval operations demonstrated interoperability between long-standing partners and newer contributors alike. For Manila, the exercise was a way to sharpen the armed forces and to demonstrate the Philippines' ability to work with allies in defending its territory and sea lines of communication. For Washington and partner capitals, the drills were a visible expression of coalition cohesion, a reminder that security in the region is not the concern of any single state. China's response was predictable and firm. Officials warned that joint military activity, ties involving the United States and its partners undermined regional trust, and state media framed the expanded drills as provocative. Those messages had an intended audience, both at home and abroad, domestic consumers of nationalist rhetoric and international observers weighing whether a military posture is defensive or coercive. Russia, too, offered a short but pointed critique. Moscow's statements cautioning against certain nations' involvement in joint drills underscore how great power alignment can amplify regional tensions into broader geopolitical narratives. At sea, rhetoric has a material counterpart. China's Southern Theater Command confirmed naval exercises to the east of Luzon, positioning vessels near key Philippine sea lanes. Such deployments bring military assets close to some of the busiest commercial routes in the world, where bulk carriers, container ships and tankers navigate alongside naval patrols. The proximity matters. Commercial and military traffic share sea space. And when that space becomes contested or even perceived as riskier, commercial decisions follow. These are not only strategic calculations, they are economic ones. The Indo-Pacific contains choke points through which energy supplies, manufactured goods and raw materials flow to global markets. When naval activity and large-scale exercises increase, shipping companies may reroute vessels, insurers may raise premiums, and port schedules can be disrupted. Freight costs ripple supply chains, timelines stretch. Coastal economies, from small fishing villages to bustling port cities, feel the impact in real time as fishing patterns shift and tourism ebbs in areas seen as less safe by foreign visitors. Perception is a powerful currency. Even absent direct confrontation, a persistent sense of danger can cause behavior changes that impose real costs. That is why the question of interpretation lies at the heart of the danger in the region. As one analyst put it, for everyone watching, each transit carries symbolism. A single ship crossing a strait can be many things at once. A A training sortie, a message to arrival, a test of sensors and logistics, or all three. Legal and political interpretations compound the problem. Taiwan and the United States maintain that the Taiwan Strait is international waters, a channel through which freedom of navigation should be preserved. China, however, often asserts a broader set of claims or frames nearby movements as matters of national security. These divergent readings of maritime rights and responsibilities create a gap where miscalculation can happen. That mismatch of interpretations is the heart of the danger, to borrow the phrase used by several security experts in recent weeks. Modern technology intensifies these risks. Ships and aircraft are equipped with sensors that provide far more precise information, and weapon systems can react at speeds that compress decision windows. That means any unexpected encounter, a close pass between a carrier strike group and a foreign patrol boat, or an aircraft interception that goes wrong, can escalate quickly. In such a climate, procedural clarity and communication can be the difference between a contained incident and broad crisis. Military and diplomatic leaders stress measures that reduce those dangers. In an era of compressed timelines, timely communication and clear investigations, advanced notifications of planned exercises, standardized rules for encounters at sea and in the air, and direct communication channels between militaries can significantly lower the odds of misunderstanding. Where such mechanisms exist, they are often narrow and procedural. Hotlines, pre-arranged signaling procedures, agreed-upon approaches for identifying unknown contacts. Where they are absent or weak, the risk of a rapidly escalating misread increases. Small, incremental confidence-building steps can add up. Practical proposals: I include reciprocal notifications of large exercises, joint incident investigation protocols, and common standards for navigation and approach distances in sensitive corridors. These are not sweeping peace accords. They are technical, operational frameworks that make dangerous interactions less likely to spiral. As one senior security voice observed, deterrence and dialogue are not mutually exclusive. The strength of a military posture can be maintained while channels of consultation and restraint are enhanced. Politics complicates those proposals. Leaders must show resolve to domestic audiences while keeping options open for de-escalation. The rhetoric required to reassure voters and partners often narrows diplomatic flexibility. Militaries, by contrast, operate with a different calculus. They plan for worst-case scenarios and train for a range of contingencies. Exercises seek a balance to test capabilities without crossing thresholds that might provoke a response. But as the scale and frequency of those drills grow, so too does the possibility that they will be perceived as aggressive rather than defensive. That gap between intent and perception is not just a matter for policymakers and commanders. It affects sailors, pilots, and commercial mariners on the front lines of daily operations. Professionalism, training, and adherence to established rules matter enormously. The crews who stand watch in cramped bridge winds, the pilots who execute close-range intercepts, the tugboat captains who guide container giants through narrow channels, their decisions in moments of uncertainty are the immediate safeguards between routine activity and crisis. Yet operational professionalism needs institutional backstops. Reliable communication channels, transparent exercise schedules, and agreed mechanisms for joint inquiries into incidents create a safety net. Those measures do not eliminate competition, but they reduce the chance that a single misread will escalate into a wider conflict, a pragmatic balance. A pragmatic balance between deterrence and diplomacy also serves economic interests. Predictability matters to shipping firms, insurers, and manufacturers who rely on steady transit times and stable premiums. When sea lanes are viewed as unpredictable, companies invest in alternatives, divert routes, or absorb higher costs, all of which feed back into national economies and political calculations. Governments that successfully marry credible defense postures to effective risk reduction protocols help preserve the conditions for trade and prosperity. There is also a wider strategic logic to cooperative measures. Multinational participation in exercises like Balakatan creates interoperability and shared standards, which can ease friction during routine encounters. When navies train together, they learn each other's procedures. Air forces that rehearse interceptions and handoffs develop common understandings, about safe distances and identification, those practical byproducts. Facts of cooperation can reduce the chance that a routine interaction becomes dangerous. But the choices are not solely technical, they are political decisions about how states want to shape the regional order. Will actions be calibrated to deter without provoking? Will leaders pursue dialogue even as they build capacities? The future will be determined less by the inevitability of rivalry than by policy choices made in capitals over the coming months and years. For business and civil society, the message is clear: stability matters. Ports, shilling firms, and coastal communities need predictable conditions to thrive. For policymakers, the message is that demonstrating resolve must be matched by investments in communication and restraint. Incremental agreements will not erase rivalry, but they will lower the danger of miscalculation. That narrow, pragmatic ambition is the realistic aim: to keep competition constrained within predictable rules and to prevent accidents from defining the strategic trajectory of the region. As the Indo-Pacific becomes a chessboard where every movement is interpreted, the work ahead will be granular. It will involve lines of code for secure naval messaging, translation of operational practices into common manuals, and the patience to sit across tables from rivals and negotiate modest technical safeguards. It will also require public leaders to frame strength in terms that leave open the space for diplomacy and clarification. The stakes reach beyond geopolitics and into everyday life. Energy shipments, manufacturing inputs, and food supplies depend on these sea routes. Millions of livelihoods hinge on fisheries and tourism that can be disrupted by a persistent sense of instability. Keeping those waters open and secure is therefore not only a matter of statecraft, it is a global economic necessity. There is no single prescription to remove rivalry, but there is a path to manage it, sharpen readiness while expanding channels for clarity, rehearse interoperability while agreeing on shared incident protocols, maintain deterrence while preserving the capacity to de-escalate. In the words that have become a refrain among security planners, readiness must be married to restraint. Deterrence must be paired with dialogue. The choreography of ships and aircraft is not merely movement, it is communication. And like any language, it can be used to threaten or to signal, to escalate or to reassure. How leaders, militaries, and partners choose to shape that language will determine whether the Indo-Pacific evolves towards stable, managed competition or drifts into deeper instability. For now, each transit, each drill, and each public statement will be watched not only for what it does, but for what it means. The decisions made today will shape the seas for years to come.